No tomfoolery going on here. Our conversation with Mr. Pollock from the Extension Service, brought to you by Marcus and Mack, voted best personal injury law firm in the Best of Indiana County contest. Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Got a question for Bob? Just give us a call. 479-1160, 349-WCCS. Robert, we're hearing a lot about spotted lanternflies this week. Particularly, I guess national news was in Pittsburgh, and they are, they're crawling with spotted lanternflies. I'm still not seeing them around here, and that's fine by me. Yeah. But if they're that close, then they're here, aren't they?
They're around, but you're right. I had a report from Pittsburgh over the weekend. Somebody that was down there, and they were everywhere.
Yeah, and
people were stomping on them and swatting them. And
people were using, and this was the thing, they're using double-sided tape on their trees to try to catch the bugs as they're crawling up. Since they're not strong flyers, they basically crawl up the trees, and so that's and they're talking about injuring birds and other wildlife by using the tape on the trees. But that's what they're doing.
Yeah. So that's one of the tactics, one of the ways that you can reduce those. You know, we used to use those for gypsy moth, which isn't called that anymore. But yeah, so that's a non-chemical way to deal with, try to capture some of those bugs, and so this sticky tape does the same thing. However, it is possible that other wildlife, you could have chipmunks, squirrels, birds, that are non-target that end up and get stuck on there.
I caught an elephant.
It's like a glue board. Yeah, you caught an elephant. It's like a glue board for mice or rats.
It's the same principle,
right? So, and you could also get a non-target species, get caught on that also.
The interesting thing to me about the national reports about it were that they said that they're not particularly destructive; they're just a nuisance. That's not the case with spotted lanternfly.
And then and if you're in that situation, or if you're at an event, they can be a big nuisance, a huge nuisance. They're flying all around, and they can be in big concentrations, and so that could be a problem. And then because they're sap feeders, they will excrete that sap. So you can have sap raining down on you, or on your house, or you put your clothes out on the line, your vehicles, your picnic table, any of that, toys outside. If you're in a concentrated area where those adults are feeding, that'll get that sap all over there. And then, that's one thing. But then when the sooty mold grows on the sap, because sap is sugar, has sugar in it, and so that's where the mold, that becomes a place where mold can grow, and then everything turns black, and so you have a huge mess. But yes, in addition to that, so we can have crops that can be affected also, especially, and we've talked before about grapes are particularly susceptible to that. And they will feed on some other trees and things, and that can weaken them. But the nuisance factor with this one is big. You compare it to emerald ash borer that literally kills trees. Bores in and kills trees. And we have the evidence of that all over the place.
Well, we're still getting that every time it rains.
We still get it, right? Yeah, and that's the problem too with that, is it's lingering. The actual insect may be gone or pretty much gone. It's worked its way through, almost like a storm, an extended storm, worked its way through. But as those trees get weakened and die over time, and then when we don't do anything with them, especially ones that are along the roadside, it might be in a right-of-way, it might not be on private property, but also then on private property, those trees will eventually fall down, fall into utility lines, fall onto the road.
I hope they don't fall on your house.
Correct. Or, over the road and on a vehicle, or, any of that.
Yeah. So all those things are concerns with the spotted lanternfly. So wipe them out if you see them, and certainly they are prevalent right now. They're not the really colorful stage right now. They're more gray. With,
because
with
we're transitioning. Yeah, we're transitioning now from those nymphs, final stages of the nymphs, which are the young, to the adult moths, and then those moths will mate, and the females are larger than the males, but they mate, and then pretty soon we'll start to have those females will start to lay egg masses for next year.
Yay!
And then fortunately, that generation, the moths will die, those adults will die, but they're going to do their work and to make sure that their species continues to the next year.
We touched on it last week at the very end of our visit, but with the rain and the storms that came in through last night, we want to just touch very briefly upon blight with tomatoes and other plants, of course, that can be affected by blight. And the numbers have been good so far this year, and I don't think any have turned up in Indiana County, any blight cases, but it's around.
Yeah, not with late blight. Yeah, mostly, it's been documented up in New York and then up into Canada with late blight. But other than that, we're hanging in there so far. And part of that, I think, has been just the way storm fronts have moved and things that we haven't had a big issue with that. But, any diseases that will attack tomatoes and potatoes and really any of our vegetable crops, and the vine crops also are very susceptible and have a lot of different diseases that can infect them, from bacterial type infections, which are much more complicated to deal with, to fungal infections. Most of the fungal infections we can deal with. The bacterial infections are internal, so they get within the plant and in the vascular system of the plant, either within the water-moving system or the food-moving system in the plant. So once they become internal, it's very difficult you try to get as much out of the crop as you can till it dies. And then other things, especially fungal diseases, are going to be external, so they're going to be on the leaves, on the fruit of the plant. In most cases, we can prevent or minimize the damage from that. And with tomatoes, we're talking about early blight, septoria leaf spot, primarily are the two, and then we get into some other wilts and things that can infect tomatoes.
I had somebody ask me this week, and I guess I can combine two different points here. Somebody saying that it's been really, really hot here this summer, which I don't think it has been at all. I think it's been rather a cool summer for us around Western PA, but that person said it was really, really hot. But another person said, ask Bob this, the Canadian wildfire smoke that has affected our atmosphere so much, does it have a long-term effect on our plants, our trees, and our grasses, and our fruit crops and things of that nature? I wouldn't think that it would, but I don't know that. You might.
It could have some effect. So any plants that maybe are already stressed from something else, that's another factor that adds in because it gives cloud cover, essentially. So we're not getting that sunlight, and of course plants need sunlight to manufacture food, and so when we don't have that, cloudy days, they're not able to function maybe as well as they need to function, so that can be an added stressor to that. I don't think we've had enough cumulative days of that to really be the tipping point, to
it's not Pittsburgh
cause a plant to go
steel
over the
mills
edge.
of the 40s.
No, the smog and all, right. All of that. So, I think there would be minimal, short-term and long-term damage from that. And we would also, as humans,
we'd be hacking and coughing.
Right, we'd be feeling that as well, and would be an indicator, not only the plants, but us would also be indicators that. And of course, you get more susceptible populations of people that already have predisposed or already have maybe lung issues or other health issues, where that can complicate that. And the same thing can be true in plants.
Yeah, yeah. And for me, it hasn't been especially hot. Has it been for you?
No, I think humidity. We've had a lot of high levels of humidity. We've had 100% humidity for a lot of days. I think that may make the temperature seem worse or seem hotter versus being less humid.
Actual air temperatures.
Yeah.
And hey, we're out of drought watch now.
Yeah.
How about that?
That's good.
Seems rather obvious, but okay.
Yeah. But as spotty as all these rains have been, like yesterday, it was looking like we were going to get hammered pretty hard, and then it broke up, and a lot of it went around us, but somebody got it.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
Oh, come on, little dog.